All right, y'all. Today we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business. Going to see for its local search and for its city search if it's got BSS, yes or no. And we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star here is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More on that pinned post, home video, pinned video, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph here in white. Highest intent peeps on the left. These are peeps searching for both boudoir photo shoot in their city today. I focus on them and make videos about actually getting them to come to us. Here, videos about BSS. Over on the right, there's the lowest intent peeps. We talk about getting these peeps to come to us on our sister brand or sister channel, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And currently over there, we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand per month in boudoir Facebook ads. So BSS, boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. Both are bad. 0, extra bad. If we got 0 slots page 1, that means we're page 2 or deeper. And we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. So if we end on page 1, we're visible to approximately 80% of searchers, approximately 80% of buyers, approximately 80% of the market, so the bulk of the market. Bad, extra bad. Also, 1 slot page 1, that ain't good enough anymore. That's bad as well, because guess what? There's 9 other organic slots page 1. It's probably going to be 9 other boudoir photographers there. So everyone's got 1 slot. We're looking the same as everyone else. Not standing out, not looking special. So a boudoir buyer, what they're going to do is they're just going to click down, open everyone's website, opens everyone's website up and, literally get a quote, fill out everyone's contact form, get a quote from everyone, price shop, price compare, negotiate, waste everyone's time, blah, blah, blah. And, only 10% of the time we're going to get that person to buy from us. So that other 90% of the time we're wasting it. And 0-1 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It's not normal to have such a small few number of page 1 links on Google search. But it is accepted and it is, commonplace, but it's not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. And I know this is normal because I went from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google search, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google search in only 10 days utilizing this new methodology we developed. Now, these 2 deeper root causes here are 1, market saturation, 2, the false belief of page 1 equality. Market saturation, basically everyone knows about that. Over time, people get kind of new devices, new gear, new iPhone, new camera, and eventually people throw up their Google My Business profile, and then they now shoot boudoir, or they throw up their, website saying they now are a boudoir photographer, or they're posting them on Facebook groups that they now offer boudoir photo shoots. So it's more boudoir photographers competing for the same number of buyers makes it harder for every single boudoir photographer. Now, the false belief of page 1 equality, this is new to most people. Very, very, it used to be very common to accept this, very common to accept that, every boudoir photographer is, gets 0-1 slots page 1 on Google, and either you get it or you don't, and it's not much you can do about it. And even if you had 1 slot on page 1 on Google, well, maybe there's some market saturation and that slot, that slot goes away, or, then you go down to page 2. Well, you got to kind of hope those people leave the market and then hope Google puts you back on page 1. So it's kind of like a learned helplessness belief, but it's not true. We've learned it's not true because, again, I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google search in only 10 days. So we know the false belief page 1 equality. Now we know that it is exactly that, a false belief. We also know that a boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer, DBP. And yeah, dude, if we're on page 2 or deeper, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. If we're on page, and if we're on page 1, everyone else has got 1 slot on, all the other 9 competitors got 1 slot as well. So we're essentially invisible as well. So if we're on page 2 or deeper, we're dying fast. If we're on page 1 with 1 slot, we're dying slow. In both cases, we're disappearing boudoir photographer, which actually is kind of like the warning light, the red flag, the canary in the coal mine that tells us our boudoir photography business itself is actually on the path to disappearing. It's now starting down that path. Thankfully, we have discovered a solution though. We've discovered that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And it works exactly as it says. You know, we saturate social search with the highest intent Boudoir buyer keywords, making sure that we show up there. And what this acts like is basically like the snow at the top of the Andes Mountains, the eastern side, the backside of these Andes Mountains down in South America. The snow up there, what it does is it, all year it's melting into streams, melting, the streams, small streams, flow into small rivers, but it all eventually comes to be collected in the Amazon River. That's where all the water actually comes from. And that page one of Google search is the Amazon River, but we got to first stuff, SQ methodology. We got to first saturate, do social search saturation, put the snow up there at the top of the mountain, so then all those videos, links can flow onto page one of Google search. And this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that can actually enable them to grow during periods where the market's getting more and more saturated every day, and give them that opportunity in a relatively quick time frame. The only other solution I've seen a lot of people to do that is having a large, well-known brand, but that takes on average, 5 to 10 years. We ain't got 5 to 10 years anymore, dude. AI is here. We need results. We need a opportunity ASAP. And actually, interestingly enough, S-cube methodology, by my estimates, can actually help those actually build a large, well-known brand approximately 8x faster than all these other kind of standard ways of doing it, just because we're doing more volume on more surfaces and showing up in the right places way more often over time. It's kind of like a double bonus of utilizing S-cube methodology. So example now. All right, so we are right now going to, we're going to Boise, Idaho. And there are 1 million boudoir photographers in Boise, Idaho. We're one of them. Everyone's got a website saying they do boudoir photography. And as a result, everyone's website's trying to rank page one on Google as much as possible. Ultra competitive. We're like, man, we ain't got no large, well-known brand. Literally the only thing left that allows us to compete effectively is S-cubed methodology. So we decided to crank it to the max, like way more than average boudoir photographer would. And let's say we're taking up the first, 300 slots of social search across all the social platforms, and then that flows onto Google search. And let's say we're taking up the first 300 organic slots on Google. Well, it's 10 organic slots, per page on Google. So we're literally taking basically the first 30 pages of Google. So whenever a boudoir buyer searches for us anywhere digitally, we basically got like the first 300 slots to ourselves. So we are, basically we're basically the only one they can find, whether they're searching social media, they're searching Google, basically the only one they can find. So in this case, they'd have to, scroll to slot 301, or would that be on Google page 31 to find us? And so in this case, whose business is growing? Whose boudoir photography business is growing? Most likely only ours, because we're basically the only one that can be found by buyers. And whose boudoir photography businesses are dying, disappearing, going invisible? Well, most likely the other 999,999 boudoir photographers competing against us in Boise, Idaho. And so this is, kind of an ultra example of what S-cube methodology, kind of the opportunity it could give to a boudoir photography business, but this is like an ultra extreme version, ultra extreme example version. Now, once treated with S-cube methodology, we have page one visibility. So yeah, we're getting more links page one Google search. And the second initial benefit we're getting is every new link we get on page one Google search, good for us. And we're actually kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. This is awesome. So we can literally control how many of our competitors are on page one of Google search are not organic by our effort in acquiring these organic Google slots. And it's good because these slots have some momentum, not infinite momentum, but they do have some momentum. Unlike Google PPC ads or any ads, that momentum goes to zero the instant you stop paying for them. And let's see. Yeah, so a lot of boudoir photographers like this, they're like kick their competitors off. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us, BSV. This is where the GBC universe recommends hitting a minimum or having a minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one Google search as the minimum. More is obviously better, but that's because basically every other boudoir photographer is going to have one slot each on page one. So if we got 3, we're dominating. Everyone else has got 1. We're actually standing out, actually looking unique. And the super rare train, someone has 2. Well, we still got 3, so we're dominating them as well. So we're basically dominating in all scenarios here. We also know that boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with BSS boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. Thankfully, we now have a solution. Thank the universe. SQ'd methodology. We use that to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, and have boudoir search visibility. All right, so now my results utilizing SQ'd methodology. So I actually wanted to rank for this keyword, well, I want to dominate page one for this keyword, BLCS boudoir. So I went to work purely utilizing SQ'd methodology and see my results. We're going down the organic slots. So organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. And so I went from 0 to 10 slots, Google page 1, to 9 out of 10 slots, Google page 1 search in only 10 days, purely utilizing SQ'd methodology. All right, main event here. Let's see this boudoir photography business, see if they got their local search or their city search, see if they got BSS for either of those. So we're going to East Hampton, Mass. All right. Going up here, East Hampton. All right, so let's see what we got here. Dun, dun, dun. All right, we got 1. Boom, we got 2. Boom, we got 3. And all right, so all right, good. Local, we got 3. Got a recommended, we do not have BSS. We hit the 3 out of 10 recommended minimum. All right, now we're going to Springfield, Mass. Let's see what we're cooking up here. So, all right, we're at 0 out of 10 for our city search. So we got BSS for this one. So let's see. All right, so local search, we ain't got BSS, and we did reach the GBC recommended minimum. 3 out of 10 slots, page 1, Google search. City search, we got 0 out of 10 slots, city search. So yes, we got BSS, and we are not meeting the recommended minimum 3 out of 10 slots, page 1, Google search for the city search. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've done the local search for yourself for the highest intent buyer keywords and the highest intent, and you've done the city search for yourself for the highest intent buyer keywords, and you have BSS for one or both of them, and or you have not met the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 Google slots for one or both of them, and you understand the market saturation. Yeah, people get new gear. Okay, more boudoir photographers always over time. It's always increasing. And you want to kick out those current competitors. And you're seeing SQ'd methodology as the only path to successfully do that. But you're also thinking ahead of, man, AI is taking more and more people's jobs, it seems, every day. So if AI is taking more and more people's jobs every day, then there's probably going to be more and more. It's going to be like the third prong of things that's pushing more boudoir photographers. And it's not just new iPhone or new camera. It's now losing jobs due to AI. So you see, okay, more and more boudoir photographers going to be entering the market. We actually want to increase the kind of pre-fortify our position before this monster tsunami or kind of this increasing wave of new boudoir photographers enters the market, competing with us for page 1. Want to pre-fortify our positions in expectation. That kind of like the levees in New Orleans. I think it's like the built up sandbag things to keep the ocean at bay because the city is below sea level. And we actually want to decide you want to pre-fortify your position to also pre-fortify your position on Google page one to all the new boudoir photographers that will eventually be coming in because more and more people lose their job to AI. And you're also seeing, hey, S-cubed methodology is the only path for that. You've accepted that page one equality is a false belief, and Google will actually give us as many slots on page one as we want to put in the effort to take. So you've accepted the false belief of page one inequality is false. So you want to use S-cubed methodology you see as the only solution, and you want the page one visibility. You want to become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility because you know you need this on your way to becoming the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you also want the two hidden back-end benefits of successfully executing S-cubed methodology every single day, which is kind of the more we execute it, the keywords that we use that we're starting to rank for, show up social search for, saturate that, show up Google page one for. It's basically building thematic keyword columns attached to our entire internet brand, our social accounts, our website, out there in the minds of AI. So every single day we successfully execute S-cubed methodology, we actually increase the probability that AI overview here recommends us, and Google still is about 90% of search, slowly decreasing every day though. So higher chance we get the the premium placement slot here, AI overview, because it's pulling from, our frequency, our density, our authority, our age of these different thematic keyword columns that S-cube allows us to tackle. So increase in probability of being shown up here and increase in probability of being showing up for all the AI search apps, ChatGPT search, Claude, Perplexity, and we got Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search. So kind of all this hidden back-end AI brain momentum every single day. It's kind of building up momentum every single day we execute S-cubed methodology. And you're seeing, since my plan is to only work with one boudoir photographer per city, that you decide you want to hop on this first, be a first mover, because every single day we execute S-cubed methodology correctly. We're getting the initial benefits, the quick future benefits, and the longer term momentum AI brain recommendation benefits, building up the momentum, and you're putting massive gap between you and all the current competitors, and definitely all the ones that have not entered yet, but we know they will because AI will be taking a bunch of people's jobs. And so you want all that, and you also see if some other boudoir photographer in your same city were to work with me instead, that you would actually have to figure out S-cubed methodology on your own, and you would never actually know if you've rederived it correctly. And then you'd have to go equal our execution every single day, execute an S-cubed methodology, which you'd have to equal our effort and you'd have to be confident in it, which you would not have 100% confidence because you would not know if you've even derived S-cubed methodology correctly in the first place. And to do all that effort, you would simply be maintaining the gap me and your competitor have already built up against you. To actually close the gap, you'd have to double or triple outwork us every single day to close that gap. Basically kind of steal back that thematic keyword column momentum attached to your competitor's brand in the AI brain, the AI search brain, for all these AI apps, and pull it back to your brand. And so you've decided, okay, screw that. I'd rather just be the first mover and not be dealing with the laggard position of not being the #1 boudoir photographer in my city, because I know a ton of boudoir photographers going to be entering because of AI taking Peep's job. So if that's you, shoot me a DM. When I open my DMs for new patient intake, the hospital is currently closed. We're not currently taking in any new patients. But when I do open the hospital for new patient intake, shoot me a DM and we'll see if you qualify for using S-cubed methodology.